Sonic Adventure 2 has some of the most iconic levels in the franchise. I mean, think about it. City Escape, Metal Harbor, Pumpkin Hill, Mission Street, White Jungle, the list goes on. With this in mind though, I always did wonder where Sonic Team took most of their inspiration from when making these levels. Some more obvious than others, of course. So in this video, let's take a where Sonic Team's inspiration came from, along with checking out some sick concept art on the way. By now, I think you all know how this goes. Let's establish some quick background info as to where and why Sonic Team was basing this so much in the real world. We all know after Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Team wanted SA2 to be bigger and better, blah 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 blah, death of the Dreamcast, whatever. Sonic Adventure was mainly developed in Japan, and once released, Sonic Team director Takashi Iizuka took some of the team and flew to the United States to set up shop in beautiful San Francisco, California, under the new name Sonic Team USA.
Oh, how ironic fate can be.
I found it kind of funny that San Francisco also hosted two big SEGA deaths per se, Sonic Adventure 2 being the presumed final Sonic game on the Dreamcast, and with the death of the console coming, along with SEGA Technical Institute, which was shut down in 1996 and was where Sonic Team based their operations out of to develop Sonic 2 and 3K on the Genesis. Anyways, once Sonic Team USA finished their first task of localizing the Western release of Sonic Adventure 1 and shipping out Sonic Adventure International, basically a patched version of SA1, to Japan, they got to work on their next project. Sonic Team USA really took a lot of inspiration from San Francisco and the Bay Area, wanting it to be full of American flavor, as Sonic Adventure 2 lead director Takashi Iizuka stated in an interview with IGN back in June of 2001. We see a lot of beautiful images here in San Francisco every day, and we wanted to apply those elements in the game. We wanted to make SA2 have more of an American flavor. You'll see a lot of the settings inspired by America. Well, I think it's safe to say they knocked it out of the park. The city itself has its fair share of levels based around it, with City Escape, Rabbithole Highway, Mission Street, and the kart racing levels Route 101 and Route 280. Let's start with City Escape first though. I think it's quite obvious that this stage gets most of its inspiration from the big rolling hills and bustling streets of San Francisco, which is shown right off the bat with Sonic tearing them up through the rest of the level. I found it kind of amusing. The reason why you could completely tear up all the cars in City Escape was because according to the bonus sit-down interview with Iizuka and Kazuyuki Hoshino, who was the art director for SA2, helped design Shadow, and is still currently working for Sonic Team on his most recent Anyways, Iizuka and the devs wanted to tear the streets up in response to frequently getting parking tickets from the LAPD during the game's development. Check this quick bit out here.
We were living in San Francisco, so we had cars, but sometimes we'd get a little careless, and every so often we'd get hit with parking tickets. There were these little cars that would go around passing out the parking tickets, and these people were just doing their job. But still, every single time we'd get a parking ticket, we'd be thinking, there goes another $30. So, in one of the stages of the game, this little car shows up, and Sonic can attack it and just destroy it.
While unfortunately for SA2, there's nowhere near as much concept art available to the public as SA1 had. We do have quite a large amount for City Escape, but first, I want to start with these really awesome storyboards made by Shiro Miyakawa, who wrote the story and drew all of the storyboards by himself for Sonic Adventure 2. Starting with this storyboard, that's a different version of the first half of the opening to the hero story, with the helicopter flying across the city, which is a lot larger looking than in the final cut, where it's more of just a JPEG, but that's mainly just due to the technical limitations at the time. And then it follows with this other storyboard of Sonic jumping out of the helicopter and landing on its wing, where in this, he's giving more of an oh shit face compared to the cockier version in the final scene. Going forward, all the concept art shown in this video was made by Hiroshi Nishiyama, who was the field art director of Sonic Adventure 2 and worked with SEGA till Sonic Rivals 2 in 2007, and he actually just rejoined SEGA to work on the upcoming Sonic games in 2019. Starting with these two City Escape pieces that are detailing the intro sequence of Sonic falling down towards the city, there's not much that really changed here from the final product, other than two major things. Sonic having his original SA1-like shoes compared to the soap shoes in the final Dreamcast release. This is most likely due to the soap shoes deal not being finished at the time of drawing this piece though. Along with the Nishiyama's concept art, how different the plane is in the background, going with more of a AC-130 look, while in the final product and in Miyakawa's storyboard, it's a helicopter inspired by the Russian military's Mi-24. Moving on, the piece on the right shows Sonic grinding on the rails of what looks like a wall or a half pipe. This looks like an early concept for the area right after you stop snowboarding, with the half pipe section leading back to the streets. This is kinda neat to look at because in the final game, this area right here at the top looks like it could have easily been a grinding section. While there's obviously no grindable walls in the final game, it leads me to believe at some point in development they wanted the speed characters to be able to grind on any corner or ledge in the game. I also imagine this piece was done a tad later in development as he's rocking the soap shoes here. We also got these two drawings showing off the later sections of the level, with the one on the left showing Sonic running through the streets of San Francisco, which I could definitely see coming from this bit here after the first free running trick ramp. It's pretty neat as this seems like quite an accurate translation to the 3D space for the most part. While the one on the right here I found real cool, showing off the final bit of the level with the gun truck run. This piece also got a pretty accurate translation to 3D with some smaller details being changed, like the flames or stripes at the front of the truck being non-existent in the final copy. I also want to point out in this and the previous pieces just how much more of an edge Sonic's character design has in these pictures, giving him a bit more of a sleeker and thinner design compared to SA1's, where he's a bit softer in appearance, probably to help make the transition from the classic games to SA1 a lot smoother. What's really awesome about all of this and shows just how cool of a guy Nishiyama is, when he announced he was rejoining SEGA in 2019, the official Sonic YouTube had him on a live stream, and he showed off all of these concept pieces from his original sketchbook, which I found super awesome. As for the last and most interesting drawing for City Escape, in my opinion, was the one of Sonic running down the Golden Gate Bridge, which is obviously not found in City Escape, but one of my favorite levels, Radical Highway. Talking more specifically about this piece in Radical Highway, it's quite interesting, as not only is this a shadow stage that's already significantly different, but comparing this to the opening section of Radical Highway, the bridge in the picture seems to be up and running fine with cars driving across it, while in the final stage, we can see not only the police blockade happening, but that a large part of the bridge is completely gone behind shadow, where it's intact with the concept piece, and to top that all off, in the final stage, there's no cars to be seen along the whole bridge with it being under construction, which is first shown with the steel beams and such at the beginning of the level, which stays consistent with the in-game level select map. By the way, just about all the pieces shown so far can be seen in Sonic Generations as unlockables. The rest though will be linked to the description. Still, it's crazy to me how radically different the Radical Highway's concept art is to the final stage. As for the other San Francisco city-based levels, there's not any concept art, but it's very obvious where they got their inspiration from. Mission Street shares the same name as an actual street in the city called Mission Street. While the stage's scenery doesn't really reflect its real-world location, as the game's stage makes it very clear that Mission Street overlaps and is very close to the Golden Gate Bridge, even having some sections being suspended up like it's part of the bridge. I could definitely see where they took some direct inspiration from the real-world location though, as the straightaways in the beginning and end of the level look like pretty close translations from the pictures shown. It's also quite far from the Golden Gate Bridge in real life. While there's not any direct Mission Street art, I do want to show off this really awesome piece of Tails' mech, the Cyclone. I found this really interesting as the mech part of the picture looks a lot similar to Eggman's final mech, and granted, that may have just been a basis at the time since Tails was added much later in the game's development. Either way, it's pretty sweet. Also, it looked like they were going to give him a kitted out AK-47 like gun to use instead of his original mech cannon, which probably would have went something like
Okay.
And finally from this bit, the Cyclone's transformation into the cart, which looks quite similar to its final appearance in the game. Speaking of the cart levels, Route 101 and Route 280 both share the same names of real US highways, starting with Route 101, which was named after the highway that runs across the west coast of California, but other than that doesn't really share much to its real life counterpart. While Route 280 is named after Interstate 280 in the Bay Area, which runs from San Jose all the way up to San Francisco, and it's a similar thing where they don't really share much other than the namesake, unfortunately. Staying in the Bay Area, one of the big points of interest is the maximum security prison, Alcatraz Island, which seems like it could very well be the inspiration for what Sonic Team USA based Prison Lane, Iron Gate, and Security Hall off of. This can be backed up because if we look at the stage select map, all three of those stages are on the same island, and taking a look at Google Maps, the in-game island is in a very similar shape to Alcatraz, while also being in a similar locale to the real-world island. Technically on the level select screen, the stages are on separate sections of the island, but I think it's pretty evident that they all took inspiration from the same place, due to the spatula levels sharing the same theme. Also with the small fact that, in canon, the island is literally called
Prison Island.
More specifically talking about Prison Lane, it's very obvious this had to take inspiration from an SA205 Alcatraz, as not only in the game, but story-wise with Tails breaking Sonic out of prison. The scenery also reflects that with the amount of barred doors, prison cells, and such. Iron Gate, on the other hand, has two really sick pieces of concept art. Starting with the one on the left, I found that was super cool, as it's showing off the bridge section closer to the end of the level, and was translated quite well to the final product, as this is pretty close to a 1-to-1 that you can get. I really liked how Nishiyama drew the gun security robots in this, giving them a lot more of a mech feel that could go toe-to-toe with Eggman's more than anything. The same goes for this piece on the right, which shows off the elevator shooting gallery sections. This piece of art is super sick, as it gives more of an atmospheric feel with the steam up top and everything, which is absent in the final game for the most part. As for Security Hall, well, it pretty much beats the same drum as the other stages with the scenery, reflecting more of what an SA2-ified Alcatraz maximum security vault would look like. Cool fact though, Alcatraz did have a maximum security vault that was apparently located in the administration center when the prison was still up and running. Moving over ever so slightly on the map, Metal Harbor and Weapons Bed are both an extension of Prison Island in-game, and certainly had to be influenced by local harbors in the San Francisco area, even possibly past naval shipyards that were around the area, like say Hunter's Point. While not active since the 1970s, still a lot of the infrastructure would have remained, still being around to influence Sonic Team's design choices in the Bay Area. Or 6 hours down south in Los Angeles, Long Beach Naval Shipyard, which was used all the way up till 1997, making it still a pretty fresh shutdown at the time of 2001. These kinds of naval influences are even backed up more when we look at the actual Metal Harbor concept art, which leans heavily into that militaristic look with the satellites and aircraft carriers, compared to say the final stage where it resembles more of an abandoned harbor. While Weapons Bed takes a lot more notes from the concept art piece in my opinion. It makes sense because in canon, apparently both stages are happening pretty much at the same time. Pulling another excerpt out from the IGN interview, Iizuka talks about while San Francisco was a large base of the game's inspiration, as for the other stages, since we came to the US, we've gone on various trips to places in the US, like Yosemite Park. I think it's very clear where the stages like Skyrail or Pumpkin Hill get their inspiration from. As in the game, we see on the stage select map how all these take place in the mountains area of Pumpkin Hill, which looks very similar to Yosemite. Starting with Knuckles and Shadow stages, Pumpkin Hill and Skyrail, both taking place high in the sky on several mountains that look to be based off the mountains of Yosemite in that manner. We even have this cool piece of concept art for Pumpkin Hill, showing off the train at the intersection area of one of the mountains. And while I found the concept art for this stage pretty close to the final product, one big difference was the look of the train. In this, going with more of a modern looking train with the skull face in the front, while on the final stage it's a locomotive train with a pumpkin in the front, along with dropping the concept art's passenger car for a wooden coffin in the final product. There's also this other piece from Pumpkin Hill that Nishiyama showed off in the Sonic YouTube livestream that displays the train tracks in the stage, and while I can't really pinpoint an exact location in the final level this is based off of, it seems like any one of the train track sections here with the pumpkin mountain in the background is what this is from. As for Skyrail on the other hand, there's no concept art of it, but as we know from my other video, this was supposed to be a Sonic stage originally, and since the main gimmick through the level is grinding, I think this would be a good time to show off this insane piece the Sonic Twitter shared, really displaying the grinding mechanic when it was in its early stages. Not sure what this could have been from though, as the spikes and stuff are kind of alien to SA2. I also find it kind of funny yet cursed that in this picture Nishiyama has Sonic with what looks like his original shoes, or a very early design of the soap shoes, diving down into the aquatic mine, which takes strong inspiration from the abandoned Yosemite gold mines that are littered throughout the park, like the Golden Crown mine or the Great Sierra mine. We also have a piece of art for Aquatic Mine which I thought was really awesome, having Knuckles flying around the stage and showing off the watermill things that are in the level. But in the concept art look a lot more like buzzsaws to cut rock in the mine. This along with a radically different stage design, having a lot of the platforms, let alone the third floor of the stage, completely absent from this piece. What's cool to see though, that even in the conceptual stages of the level, the water mechanic was still going to be a thing. Another tidbit I found kind of interesting is that in the concept art, it borrows a lot more from the Pumpkin Hill aesthetic than the final level does in my opinion. I mean, it's obvious they're connected and all, but the Pumpkin Hill houses in the concept art are not there in the final product. It seems a lot of the stuff from this piece was also scrapped, like the crane things too. Kinda neat. While for Green Forest and White Jungle, there's not too much known, but it's pretty clear that they're based off the redwood and sequoia forests surrounding San Francisco and across California. We can see that especially, not only due to the dense forestry and jungle-like scenery of the stages, but also the huge trees that cover so much of both stages and are even in the platforming. This translates quite well to those big redwood and sequoia forests around San Francisco, like Muir Woods, Redwoods Regional Park, and Humboldt Redwoods State Park. This would even make more sense since in both levels, Sonic and Shadow go through parts of these trees, which is a common feature of sequoia trees, being able to check out the insides of them because of their massive size and large trunk, compared to redwoods, which have a much more slender trunk. Just hopefully Sonic Team didn't run into too many gun robots. Also, a cool piece of environmental trivia I didn't know was that a sequoia tree located in Sequoia National Park, called the General Sherman tree, is the largest tree in the world at 52,500 cubic feet in volume. I don't think you need to be a geography expert, like myself of course, to see where these stages took inspiration inspiration from, starting with the first three, Hidden Base, Sand Ocean, and Pyramid Cave, taking inspiration from the outside of the Great Pyramids of Egypt. There's no record of Sonic Team taking a trip there for this game, but I think it's quite evident that they probably used the pyramids at Giza to base their designs off of for Eggman's pyramid base, along with all the Egyptian pharaoh designs in the pots and scenery around the levels. As for Knuckles and Rouge's death chamber and egg quarters, they obviously take place inside of the pyramids, and I found it cool as one of the biggest features of the real-world pyramids was the intricate passageways that the Egyptians designed in them. I thought it was really awesome seeing Sonic Team put their own spin on that, with Eggman's base loaded with all this large machinery and tech being hidden from the outside world in them. Much like how in real life, it's believed and somewhat discovered that there are numerous secret chambers throughout these great wonders of the world. As for Wild Canyon and Dry Lagoon, they take place a little further away from the pyramids, as shown in the in-game map, and definitely take their inspiration from the large pools of water and oases that are scattered around the western desert, like the Fayum and Siwa oases that are located in Egypt, to name a few. When Sonic Team took their trip to space to check out the moon and the International Space Station, they came back with so many new ideas.
The world that Sonic lives in and the world the humans live in are separate worlds.
Seriously though, the two biggest inspirations for the arc coming from the Death Star and the enfranchised Death Egg, which was also inspired by the Death Star, obviously. I mean, look at this thing and compare it to the Death Star. It's pretty close, just with Sonic Team flavor all over it. We luckily also have two really awesome pieces of concept art to check out for this section too. Starting with this one on the left, which looks kind of similar to the final product, but completely dropping the whole arc hidden in the asteroid thing, reminding me a lot of the Death Star 2 from Return of the Jedi than anything, with it kind of being all decrepit looking comparatively to Episode 6 Work in Progress Death Star. While this other piece is so different but really awesome looking, keeping the whole half-meteor look at the final piece, but really accentuating the whole space colony aspect of it, with the giant city peeking out from the bottom, which is toned down a lot in the final piece, along with the huge Saturn-like ring around it, which I found super sick. I am curious just how different the levels on the arc would have turned out themselves if we went with this design, as there would have been more of an emphasis on the colony aspect of the arc, which we really only get a glimpse of in Meteor Herd and Mad Space. Also, speaking of Mad Space, another really cool piece of trivia I found is that the stages track 34 degrees north and 12 degrees east, which if you plug into Google Maps takes you to the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. And here starts the Sonic Adventure 2 conspiracy theory. Also, another really funny yet interesting bit about the arc is that in the English version, Tails calls the arc a Bernoulli spherical space colony, which is actually a mistranslation from the Japanese line where Tails calls it a Bernal Spear space colony, in reference to an early conceptual prototype of a long-term space habitat that would hold about 20,000 to 30,000 people and was developed and proposed by John Bernal in 1929. This kind of sends us down a bit of a rabbit hole of some sorts, as looking at the pieces of art from this thing, it makes it very obvious how Sonic Team could have taken some inspiration from the sphere, especially in this picture showing the interior living arrangements and comparing that to the city area of the arc. It looks like a pretty darn similar basis there. Along with this other image of a solar-powered satellite mining an asteroid, which seems as where Sonic Team took inspiration from for Meteor Herd and to a lesser extent Mad Space, as Meteor Herd takes place on the mining facility part of the arc, and has some similarities to the Bernal art shown here. Once getting all 180 emblems, which I'm totally not flexing right now, you get access to an adventure-styled rendition of Green Hill from Sonic 1, and while the stage has been beat to death in the later games, I don't really see many people talk about how accurate of a translation this is from Sonic 1 to 3D. It really shows just how much care went into this game, when Sonic Team even brought back all the original sounds from Sonic 1, Badniks, and even did a slightly remixed version of the OG track, and it's all just in an optional unlockable. Another really interesting thing I found about this game, thanks to the website The Cutting Room Floor, which does cut content in video games, that on the Dreamcast version, if you were to A-rank Green Hill, it would have its own unlockable in the form of playable Super Sonic and Shadow in the two-player versus mode. This ended up being scrapped though due to time constraints and wasn't added in any of the re-releases, unfortunately. Much like the SA1 video, there's actually two pieces of miscellaneous concept art that I really wanted to share with you guys but couldn't find anywhere else to put them in the video. The first one being this Miyakawa storyboard of the iconic faked emerald cutscene, where Sonic comes in with the fake Chaos Emerald and Eggman does the iconic 4D chess move on the gang, sending Sonic out to his presumed death at the time. This was actually translated very faithfully to the final game, starting with the panning shot of the emptiness of space out of the window, to the door opening up and Sonic standing there ready to roll like in the storyboard here, and the next panel showing him talking to Eggman. All of this was pretty one-to-one to the final game's rendition of it, surprisingly. Another pretty random one I found cool was this development shot of Sonic's 3D model being worked on. Again, this must have been quite early in the development cycle due to the lack of the soap shoes. It actually reminds me a lot of the Unleashed model for some reason, and I'm not really sure why though. Anyways, I thought these two pieces were super cool to share. Well guys, this is going to be it for the video. I had a lot of fun finding all these cool pieces of concept art and matching the real life locations that Sonic Team based these levels off of. It's so fun doing this and makes me really happy seeing you guys feel the same way, as it puts a whole different angle of appreciation on these games. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video and found looking at all this concept art as interesting as I did. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.